troops opened fire near thousands of hungry Palestinians after chaos erupted at a new US-backed aid distribution site. Russia gathered more than 50,000 troops at the border with Ukraine's Sumy region, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. Israeli troops opened fire near thousands of hungry Palestinians after chaos erupted at a new US-backed aid distribution site. The Israeli military said its troops fired warning shots to control the situation. A security source told local media that despite pushing for the control of humanitarian aid, the Israeli military was not properly prepared to do so. Palestinians have become desperate for food after an 11-week siege by Israel, and a continuing humanitarian aid blockade pushed Gaza to the brink of famine. After almost 3 months, Israel agreed to allow a trickle of aid into the Strip, which humanitarian organizations have criticized as not enough. The aid hub outside of Rafah had been opened the day before by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. They assumed responsibility for managing aid from other international organizations such as the United Nations, who have highly criticized the program. Prior to its launch, the leader of the foundation unexpectedly resigned. He said it had become clear that the organization would not adhere to the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence. Russia has gathered more than 50,000 troops at the border with Ukraine's northeastern Sumy region. That is according to President Volodymyr Zelensky. The Ukrainian leader claims Moscow wants to create a buffer zone of about 10 kilometers deep into Ukraine. Last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a buffer zone would be established along the Kursk, Belgorod and Bryansk regions. Moscow has intensified its military efforts towards the Sumy region in the past few weeks. Ukraine confirmed that Russia captured 4 villages in the region recently. The Ukrainian military also warned that Russia may be preparing new attacks on Kharkiv as Moscow gathered its troops close to the border with the region.
EU member states have grilled Hungary over the gay pride ban and the rule of law situation at the Article 7 hearing in Brussels. Hungary has lately banned the gay pride and plans to put more pressure on foreign-funded NGOs and media.
Schönen guten Morgen. Es kann einem niemand hier vorwerfen, dass wir keine Geduld gehabt hätten, sodass wir uns natürlich jetzt auch irgendwann einmal Gedanken machen müssen, wie wir hier in medias res gehen. Es gibt hier vorbereitete Erklärungen und ich kann nur sagen, die Geduld der Kolleginnen und Kollegen schwindet von Tag zu Tag.
The Article 7 process against Hungary started in 2018 because of rule of law worries, and ultimately the EU could strip Hungary's voting rights away at the end of the process.
We have had 7 years, 7 hearings, and I would be very clear today that this cannot just continue unless we see a completely new attitude from the Hungarian side today. I think it's time that we consider the next steps, because this is getting pointless in continuing these hearings.
Hungary said the accusations are baseless and politically motivated.
A lényeg nem változott, ez az eljárás mindig a politikai hisztériakeltés és a politikai nyomásgyakorlás eszköze volt. Nincs ez másként ma sem. A magyar kormány ettől függetlenül ebben az eljárásban nyílt, őszinte párbeszédre törekszik.
During the meeting, 20 EU countries demanded in a joint declaration that Hungary reverse the gay pride ban.
French President Emmanuel Macron met with his Indonesian counterpart Prabowo Subianto to discuss boosting defense and trade cooperation on Wednesday. Subianto hosted Macron and First Lady Brigitte Macron, who were on a tour of Southeast Asia, in a ceremony in Jakarta before the two leaders led a bilateral meeting. Their talks also included issues like Ukraine and Gaza, where Macron urged the end of double standards in international law.
Mais nous partageons aussi la même vision du droit internationale. Une vision qui ne souffre pas de double standard. Et c'est pourquoi nous défendons l'un et l'autre une paix durable et robuste en Ukraine, en commençant par un cessez-le-feu immédiat.
Meanwhile, Indonesia said the two leaders will oversee the signing of a letter of intent to buy key weapons, including fighter jets and submarines. Macron's next stop will be Singapore, where he will speak at Asia's top defence conference. On Monday, Macron paid a visit to Vietnam, where he signed a deal to sell Hanoi 20 Airbus planes.
Ongoing European investigations into the way the Greek Payment Authority of Common Agricultural Policy Aid Schemes, or OPEC-Pay, operates are changing how European funds are distributed to farmers in Greece. The group was under surveillance for a year, and the raid on its offices last week was part of a wider investigation into illegal subsidies given to livestock farming.
Και η έκθεση που έγινε την περασμένη χρονιά ουσιαστικά διαπίστωνε μια σειρά προβλήματα τα οποία ανάγκασαν την Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή, τη Γενική Διεύθυνση Γεωργίας, να θέσει υπό επιτήρηση τον οργανισμό για ένα περίπου χρόνο μέχρι την αποκατάσταση της λειτουργίας του με βάση τους κανόνες της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής. Ένας οργανισμός σαν τον ΟΠΕΚΕΠΕ δυστυχώς εντάχθηκε στην πάγια, αν το θέλετε, παθογένεια του πολιτικού μας συστήματος, το οποίο εντάσσει θεσμούς στο σύστημα των πελατειακών σχέσεων. Έτσι, μια ανοχή υπήρξε, η οποία οδήγησε τα πράγματα εδώ που τα οδήγησε.
The case will not only affect the mechanism for the payment of subsidies in Greece. It comes at a crucial moment during the restructuring process of the European Common Agricultural Policy, and it's likely to have long-term consequences.
Το αποτέλεσμα είναι ότι η Ελλάδα, ενώ στα χαρτιά θα έπρεπε να έχει μέσο όρο γεωργικών επιδοτήσεων 38 ευρώ το στρέμμα, βρίσκεται περίπου στα 58. Και δίνει την αίσθηση μιας χώρας που παίρνει πολύ μεγάλο ποσοστό επιδοτήσεων ανά έκταση, τη στιγμή που γίνεται σε όλη την υπόλοιπη Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση μια μεγάλη συζήτηση για το πώς θα εξομοιώσεις αυτού του είδους τις επιδοτήσεις.
The European Public Prosecutor's Office has signaled that it will continue its investigation into OPEC-Pay despite what it said were attacks and intimidation of its officials. Amid pressure, the Greek government has decided to abruptly abolish OPEC-Pay. The body's powers have now been shifted to the country's independent tax bureau.
Search efforts continue for 6 missing people following a deadly blast at a chemical plant which killed 5 on Tuesday in eastern China, according to local authorities. The blast, which left 19 people injured, happened in a plant which produces pesticides and chemicals in the city of Weifang in Shandong province. Local residents up to 3 kilometers away reported having their windows blown out by the blast. The cause of the explosion remains unknown. Last year, at least 800 safety hazards were identified at the chemical plant in 2024, but officials said they had all been rectified. In 2024, China recorded 19,600 deaths in the workplace.
The situation is critical in Romania's Praid salt mine after water broke as a result of heavy floods in the area.
Pierdut lupta cu natura, apa a început să intre iarăși în salină, cu un debit care nu poate să fie stăpânit la momentul actual. Salromul va efectua cât de curând posibil o expertiză pentru a stabili starea pereților, a piloanelor.
The Praid mine is one of the largest salt reserves in Europe. Recently, it has also been operated as a tourist attraction and medical center 120 meters underground. So far, the scope of the damage is not clear to the authorities. Experts warned when water comes into contact with the salt, it immediately melts it. Authorities say that although the situation is critical, there is no question of destabilizing the entire mine.
Belgian customs will start using military radar systems to monitor private aircraft more closely in a bid to combat smuggling, according to officials. The move comes as authorities acknowledge that smugglers are taking advantage of limited oversight at small airports and heliports across the country. Private planes are often used to transport drugs, weapons, cash and illicit goods with little to no scrutiny.
Il y a des milliers et des milliers de vols qui se passent en Belgique. La douane concentrait tous ses efforts et ses contrôles sur les 6 aéroports les plus importants, mais les 150 autres, c'était vraiment un blind spot pour nous.
To improve monitoring, a customs officer will be placed in Belgium's National Airspace Security Centre. With stepped-up surveillance, authorities expect detections involving private aircraft to rise.
The mega Starship by SpaceX spun out of control and broke apart on its 9th test flight. The 123-meter rocket lifted off from SpaceX's Starbase launch site in Texas.
Booster engine cut off.
It flew beyond the point of the 2 previous Starships launched in January and March and which never made it past the Caribbean. 30 minutes into the flight, the Starship started spinning out of control because of a reported fuel leak and blew up over the Indian Ocean. It was the first time that one of Musk's Starship intended for Moon and Mars travel flew with a recycled booster.
We're entering into an airspace.